So, dear students, this is Dr. N. Venkatachalapathi, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. I am going to discuss on smith forging in metalworking or mechanical working of metals. So, dear students, actually in the manufacturing process, this course mainly offered to the mechanical engineering, automobile engineering and aeronautical engineering. We are going to study different manufacturing process to understand the basic idea about how it can able to fabricate, how it can able to do a final component. This majorly 5 units can be divided. The first unit we have discussed in the metal casting process. Second unit where you have discussed the fabrication or welding process. Third unit which comes under this mechanical working or metalworking process, and this fourth unit additive manufacturing and 3D printing, and fifth unit which is comes under the forging. In that forging, different type of forging techniques we're going to discuss in detail. So let us see what is meant by smith forging. So when you are discussing about the introduction to the smith forging, it is every student or even layman also can understand clearly. This process traditionally during in the before independence also it was there. This is also called it as open die forging. So there will be a blacksmithy, and how they can use it to have some coal and coke, and where you can able to use some ferrous and steel and some metals. It can be heated to a red hotted temperature, red hotted. Then by taking that workpiece with the some of the flanges, etc., and you can keep in the anvil, and by applying the pressure or force, you can able to change its shape. A simple S shape or U shape, and some hooks join, different varieties of the shapes can be obtained by this smith forging technique. So in general, in a general smith forging process, a hammer always strikes and deforms a metal on a stationary anvil. So first you have to keep the metal or material in a red, you have to heat some temperature, and obviously there you can use that to coke and some of the, they can add some metals also, some chemicals also they may add it together, so that this process comes under the some hot working process. We can also call it as we are heating the metal to some above its recrystallization temperature. So for example, if it is a steel, more than 923 degrees centigrade, we can able to heat that material will become red hotted, and then you can able to perform some simple shapes like S hook, U type, and some what you call some crane hook type of simple operations can be performed with this smith forging. We can simply call it as a village blacksmithy. Every village, if you go and see, they have some small blacksmithy farm, and there you can apply the pressure with the help of some blows. Some air blows will be applied, so that the heat can be generated, and we can keep the metals in here. Once it has become a red hot state, then you can able to form different shapes and size with the application of pressure with a simple sledgehammer and some striking hammer to be used. Okay, so that is why in this type of forging, generally speaking, in this type of forging, a metal is never completely confined in a dice. There is no proper die here. That is why it is called the open die forging. Simply you can say that it is a open die forging, where you can allowing it into flow except for the areas where it is mainly contact with the dice. So in general, this smith forging, it is a traditional process. All the any village farmers and all, they wanted to have some S type and U hook type and some cranes type of components. So simply they can metal can be heated in a red hot state, then you can apply pressure with the help of the sledgehammer. Okay, so all this diagrams and material will be collected from this forging study notes on the mechanical engineering Kalpak Jain textbook. It is a Pearson publishers. Coming to this types of smith forging, so in general you can see once they had to heat the metal in this blacksmithy, then you can take it into, this is called the anvil. This we can say that anvil, and where you can keep the anvil having a lot of circular, rectangular and square holes will be there. Whenever you wanted to tend to deform in required shape and size, we can able to perform better. So here let us see what is the main historical distinction between the heavy work of the blacksmithy and more delicate operation of a whitesmithy. So actually who's usually worked on a gold, silver and some of that pater or any other finishing steps of the fine steel. All these materials and all we can say that is a smith forging process where you can use this on blacksmithy. We can heat to a required temperature, then you can able to perform in a required shape and size. And the place where the blacksmithy works is also called as a smith or forge or blacksmithy shop. So the place we can work complete thing is, we can name it as a blacksmithy's shop. We can heat by using some coal and coke, etc. So once it has been achieved the red hot state, they can take into the material with the help of the some cutting plates and flanges, then apply with the help of the hammer. This is called sledgehammer. So that some different shapes, simple shapes, some S hook and the L shape and some crane type of hook can be easily done by this smith forging process. And another interesting thing I would like to add one point, while there are many people who work with the metals such as steel or copper, any type of ferrous metals also, their main thing is some wheelwrights and armorers, and in former times blacksmithy had a general knowledge for how to make and repair many things. So even in bullock cart also, if anything happen in that wheel, so they can add some U type and some S type hook can be a simple repair things also can be made by this smith forging technique. And some complex of weapons, some of the armor to simple things like nails and length of the chains, some chain type of components also you can able to perform this smith forging technique. Okay, so where you can able to perform in a smooth manner. Okay, so this is what about the mainly the types of smith, whitesmith and blacksmith. Only difference is blacksmith work on heavy works, more delicate operation of a whitesmith can be performed. So whitesmith is like gold, silver, because the material will be very costlier. They can able to perform very smooth and effectively. That is called, it is a whitesmith. The procedure is as similar as that blacksmithy. Only thing is that material is very costly. You can able to perform a simple changes its shape also. You need to heat some required temperature. Now let us see these are some applications in a blacksmithy. So not only in village, if you go to any rural areas also, there are 5 beginner blacksmithing project ideas. Or this, you can see the twist forged bracelet, like chain, twisted forged bracelet and coat hook. So while I have to keep the hanger like a coat hook type, okay, coat hook type also can be made by this. And forging a spoon material which may contain this forging technique. Okay, and forging a fork type of components, letter opener from the ribbon. All these some ideas, that project ideas also which made with this simple blacksmithy process. Okay, so look at the here how the people are, there will be, they can blow the air here and so that the metal, steel or ferrous metals will be heated retardedly. Then you can take in with the help of this flanks and some cutting pliers. Then with the help of the hammer, this hammer you can apply the pressure with whatever the required changes its shape can be done easily. So that is why always the blacksmithy produces objects like some gates, some grills, so even some grill shape in that all the gates also. Okay, so all these type we can able to perform this blacksmithy process. Okay, so like this, not only that, even some railings and some light fixtures, some furniture, furniture fixing plates and some sculpture tools, agricultural implement more in bullock cart and some tractile hooks and some decorative and religious items and some cooking utensils. Sometimes weapons also can be made by this blacksmithy technique. Okay, so this is what about the some major application which is involved in the blacksmithy. It is a simple metalworking or mechanical working of metals. Only you can heat the metal in a blacksmithy, and once it has come to the red hotted, then you can apply with the help of the hammer. You can apply the lot of pressure and force in order to obtain simple shapes like S and U hook and some crane hook. Different type of stages can be done easily in this case. And here one thing you are able to understand, some beginner, even a layman also can easily understand this process. This process, it is a traditional one, old one. Even a people having without good textbook knowledge, they can able to perform. But only this is also a very important, and some cases all the villages they can have perform this type of process easily. Okay, now let us see the what is the basic principle. What are the principle involved in the blacksmithy process? So mainly the blacksmithy work by a heating pieces of a wrought iron or steel. So this is the important. The material either wrought iron or steel. It is a ferrous materials until the metal become a soft enough to shaping with the hand tools such as hammer, anvil and chisel. Chisel also, suppose if you wanted to remove any material or excess material, you can able to perform that chisel. And this is the basic important principle of the blacksmithy. The materials such as ferrous or sometimes non-ferrous also, heating that pieces of the wrought iron and steel until that metal becomes a soft or plastically deformed. Then you can apply pressure or heat so that the shaping can be obtained easily. Okay, and coming to this heating generally takes place a forge fuel by propane. So these are the some gases: propane, natural gas, coal, charcoal, coke, all these ingredients we can able to keep in a blacksmithy. So that it can be heated properly until to become a red hot stage. Some natural gas and coal, charcoal and coke can able to stir properly so that the metal can be heated in a plastic deformation state, and once it has been achieved the red hot stage, then you can take it into that component to the anvil. Then you can apply with the help of the pressure in the hammer. Okay, and some of the modern blacksmiths also has been introduced nowadays in order to employ oxyacetylene and similar blowtorch for more localized heating also. Sometimes if you are not able to have such a blacksmithy type, even oxyacetylene and some blowtorch used for the localized heating. So once you had to, even sometimes induction heating also can be performed to gaining the popularity among the modern blacksmiths. Okay, and here another interesting thing, the color indication. Once it has been achieved red hotted, so it is an important to note that indicating the temperature and workability of the material. Once it has been achieved in a red hotted state, then you can apply the heat or pressure with the application of the hammer only. And one interesting thing is blacksmithy, you can also call it as a forging. The term forging is an oldest shaping process where used to produce a small articles which are accuracy in size is not so important. Exactly, we have some U-type component, not exactly the exact dimensional accuracy should not be required. Some it is little bit to U and some S type and hook type components can be easily performed by this blacksmithing process. And another interesting thing, the parts are shaped by heating them in a open fire or hearth by blacksmithy and shaping them into through applying a compressive force by using hammer. So this is what the a sledge hammer and different type of hammer can be used to have this material. So this is the fundamental principle of the blacksmithing technique where you have to heat with the different type of material like propane, natural gas, coal, charcoal, coke and oil, etc. Once it has been achieved to a red hot stage, then with the help of the hammer, you can able to change its shape and size effectively. Okay, and as continuation of that principle, whenever the iron heats to a high temperature, that is above its recrystalline temperature, what will happen? It first glows on red in color. First it will glows on red color, then orange, then yellow, and finally white. So this is what very interesting. So all these blacksmithing process, the material either steel or ferrous, any type of material, first it will glows into a red in color. In the second stage, what will happen? It will then become some orange in shape, and next yellow. It will whenever the cooling or quenching can be taken place, it will become some yellow in color. Then finally, it is in a white color. So one white color, it seems to be the temperature is slightly cooler, even though it's some heating can be there, but we should able to take care while performing with manually. Okay, and another thing is the ideal heat for most forging is bright yellow range color that indicate that forging heat. So because that must be seen a glown color of the metal. So some blacksmithy work on the very dim color, even low light conditions, but most work in well in all these colors only. It is well lit conditions. Why? Because if even the people are performing in villages also, even during night times also they can perform because it color itself red, orange, yellow color indicates so that you can able to transform any type of shape and sizes. And mainly the key is to have consistent lighting. So that is, if you don't have lighting, even but not too bright, they have direct sunlight obscures the colors. So that technique, which is also called as smithing, this technique called smithing, that can be roughly divided into a forging. Sometimes this is also called the sculpting. So sculpting and welding, heat treatment and finishing. So once if any missing components are there, they can perform again welding process for joining to similar or dissimilar by adding filler or without adding filler metals. So whenever after that you should go for the heat treatment process. Heat treatment means the materials can be heated certain temperature, holding and cooling. Okay, so this is heating, this is holding, and it is cooling, so that the metal can be easily formed without the requirement appearance from the industry. Okay, and finally finishing also very important parameter in the blacksmithing. Okay, now coming to these advantages, what are the various advantages and limitations and application of the blacksmithy, or we can also call it as this village village level forging process. So in general, hand forging process, which is also called the blacksmithy work. Simply you can say blacksmithy means always it can afford in villages only. So they have certain production of small articles by using hammers which can be heated to the jobs. Okay, and it is a manual control process. Even Though some machinery such as power hammers can also be sometimes to be used. Okay, so it is a manual control process. Even though some machinery such as power hammers can also be sometimes used. And finally, the blacksmithy is therefore a process by which the metal may be heated or shaped with the requirements by the usage of the blacksmithy tools, either by hand or power hammer. So suppose some, if it is in red hotted condition, a human handling also it is somewhat difficult, because red hotted in the color, the temperature almost it is more than 900 and even more than 700 degrees centigrade, where it is difficult to handle that material. So even the ones you can check this red, orange, okay, so blue, so like that it can has been uh, indication with the color to color, red, yellow, orange, blue, etc. Okay, so this is what about the simple advantages of this blacksmithy. So why these are very important in the village level applications. Even a small bullock cart and a small type of what you call some cultivation purpose, some components also, a simple shape components can be performed in nearby home itself, where you can able to, the principle is very simple. You can heat the material holding and apply proper pressure and force, so that you can able to change various shape and size of the material. Okay, so this is what about the blacksmithy, where you need to understand clearly a smith forging. And what is the main introduction to the smith forging is open die forging, is also called it as a smith forging. So here one thing I'm going to share. So this type of forging, which is the metal is never completely confined into the dies. Always should not complain on the dies allows, which is flow except for the areas where it is mainly contacted with the dies only. So this is what about the, what is the basic principle involved in smith forging. So either it may be a hot forging process, above its requisite temperature. Cold work means it is under some what you call some temperature, standard operating temperature. And when you wanted to perform better, you can able to do it for the step by step process. And coming to the types of smith forging process, so basically the two major types, one is the whitesmith and another one is the blacksmith. Almost all blacksmithy, so the heavy work on the blacksmith and more delicate operations of the whitesmithy, who usually worked in gold, silver, and pavement. And finishing steps of the fine steel also can be performed better in the smith forging process. The place where the blacksmithy works, which is also called it as variously a smith or forge or even a blacksmith machine shop. Okay, and while there are many people who work with the metals, many people they work on the metals. So obviously, what will happen? Farriers and wheelwrights and some of the armorers in the farmer times, the blacksmithy had a general knowledge of how to make any repair many things, and even from most complex weapons also can be usually and easily performed better as per concern with the other traditional process. And strictly speaking, these are some basic applications in a blacksmithy. So it deals with what you call who create the objects primarily, then wrought iron or steel, but majority of the cases from other metals by forging the metal. And the tools such as a hammer, bent, fixtures, okay, tinsmithy, and grills, some of the light fixtures and some sculptures, tools, etc. We all these agricultural implementations and decorative and religious items are very very important in this case, and most probably some cooking utensils and weapons should be performed effectively in these applications of the blacksmithy. Coming to this, this is the fundamental definition. Whenever you can heat the metal, so what will happen? That heating takes place. Line, that what you called the place where it forge fueled by the propane. Okay, propane, natural gas, coal, charcoal, coke, oil, etc. So whenever there will be induction heat methods are there. What we are supposed to say popularly among the blacksmiths, the color is the only important. Color criteria is the important for indicating the temperature workably to the metal. Okay, so this is what about the principle. And apart from that, some color indication also: red, orange, yellow, white. How the transformation of the this blacksmithy, where you can perform in this college also. There is also an experiment for the second year students. Whenever you have to visit for the manually, so you can able to clearly understand effectively how you can able to do the principle of the blacksmithy. And the techniques of smithing can be roughly divided into forging, sometimes also called the sculpting, welding, heat treatment, and some finishing process. So that is why this is a fundamental definition, or simply you can say that all blacksmithy works comes under the village type of blacksmithy. Okay, and coming to these are some basic advantages of blacksmithy. Even some process also having some limitations also. In this case, hand forging process is also known as blacksmithy work, which is commonly employed for the production of small articles using the hammers or heated jobs. So whenever the company in industry, they have a lot of potential is there, obviously they can able to produce, they can able to do the improve in the manufacturing sector, even though they have some limitations also will be there. So the basic limitation means because it is a open die forging, it is very difficult to maintain the dimensional accuracy, of the particular specimen. Okay, I hope the students can understand clearly about the what are the importance of the uh, uh, what you call blacksmithy, how we can able to perform in this industry. And even for the mechanical engineering student, they have a lab at first year level itself. Sometimes they may change it in the second year and third year. So why? Because in the first year itself, if you see the such type of components, some have to take a lot of precautions and steps to perform in a better manner. Okay, and blacksmithy is therefore the process by which the metal is to be heated and shaped to the requirements by the usage of blacksmithy tools, either by hand or power hammer. So this is what about the hammering of the metal in a blacksmithy. Metal in a blacksmithy. I hope the student can understand clearly about the what is the basic uh, idea of the smith forging, and these are the some types of smith forging. And coming to the application of where the blacksmithy performs, for a beginner, there should be a what you supposed to tell is twist for forged bracelets, and some coat hook, and what you call the forging a spoon, and forging a dark and letter opener to the rivet. Okay, so this is what about the important concept of the blacksmithy. And coming to this blacksmithy or forging is an oldest, what you call oldest shaping process, which is used to produce small articles for which accuracy size is not so important. Okay, so this is what about the principle. Coming to these applications, and application itself, what I wanted to say, the major, there are four important advantages of there in draw forging or blacksmith forging. The first thing is hand forging process, also known as blacksmithy workshop, commonly employed for the production of small articles, simple articles, and using hammered heated jobs also most widely used. And it is a manual control process, even though some machinery such as the power hammers, sometimes presses machines also can be performed effectively. So this is what are the advantages. I hope all the students can understand about the importance of the this forging. Okay, so in that how they can perform in a red hot to yellow, yellow to pink, pink to blue. So that is why student need not to be focused on this a simple village type of blacksmithing process, but wherever so some process, the process by which the metal may be heated and shaped to the worked, what you call the requirements by the usage of the blacksmithing tools, either by hand or power hammer. Okay, so I hope all the students you can understand clearly. This is the basic concept of the this hammering on in a metal blacksmithing. Thank you, students. In the next class, we will discuss some other topic on this thing. Okay.
Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.